up, YouTube? Topaz Jace back for another album review, and this one is To Damn from Kendrick Lamar Part 2. For those of you who's just watching this, I created a Part 1 yesterday where I split this album in half to go ahead and break down each individual song. So you need to go back and watch that before you watch this one, dude, because I'm just going to pick up right where we left off. But before we even do that, let's look at some of the things that's happening, like the news that's surrounding this album right now. People are saying that there's a possibility that in a couple days now, Kendrick Lamar is going to drop another album, and it's based off the content that's within this album and some other things as well. Some people are saying that the first album is Damn, the other album is going to be called Nation, Creating Damnation. Other people are saying based off the intro and such, the second album is going to be off of that, which I'm not giving any spoilers here, as I said before in the last review. Honestly, these are interesting thought processes that they have in here, man, but in the end, the only thing that gets me excited is when I hear the actual music, when I'm hearing the actual hits. Like, besides that, I can be missed on all of that hype train stuff. But anyway, let's pick up where we left off, in which I'm not going to be reviewing Humble because I've already made a daily review for that one. So the very next song off of this would be Lust. This song and a bunch that's following is much like most of this album, where the songs just don't come together, where the production just isn't there, the hooks just isn't there. Like, what I actually enjoy about most of this album is the concepts and some of the lyricism that's within it, but overall, there's only 2 songs on here that I really like, and I'll tell you what the second one is later, because this one is just not it. What Lust is all about is talking about everybody and how they lust and such, but yet how it all comes back to bite us in the end. Because starting with that first verse, he's talking about a regular dusty dude and a dusty chick, where the dusty dude is lusting after sex and shoes and nonsense like that, while the chick is really lusting after attention and all of that. While in the second verse, he's talking about himself or any successful rapper, pretty much showing how people are messing up out there on tour, pretty much not having anything together, and that's overall just lusting the success and all of that. But he sums it all up at the end where he's saying that, okay, we all waking up after lusting after all of this nonsense just to see that Donald Trump just got elected and all that. Pretty much us not doing anything about it is what caused Donald Trump to get elected, and I'm not feeling that, and I'm going to tell you later why I'm not feeling that message. But yet the next song that's on this would be Love, in which when you look at it and break it down lyrically and all that, it's the least complex of the vast majority of these songs here. All this really is his own love ballad that he's probably gearing towards his wife, I believe now. But what makes it deep is pretty much asking the questions that you kind of got to ask when you are on the level in which he is. Like, would you still be rolling with me if I wasn't popping like I'm popping right now? But then he portrays it lyrically in a pretty deep way too. How he said that he would much rather you trust him than to love him. And that's really deep, to the point that that's something that everybody need to be taking their relationships in that direction. Because the clinical term for love, for those of you who don't know, it's called limerence. Based off of science, limerence is pretty much that whole I'm madly in love with somebody, like that's your brain playing tricks on you, and it ultimately dries up after a while. But if you value trust in that individual that you're dealing with, you're going in the right direction, because relationships and marriage, all this really is a business. You're really coming together in order to push each other further, to do better things than what you were doing before. Having someone in your corner pushing you forward, going out there to accomplish great things and all that, man, that is really what relationships and marriage is all about. While love can come and go, but yet your relationship can last longer if it's based off of mutual respect and helping each other. The next song, XXX featuring U2, this is honestly my least favorite song of all of this, man, on multiple levels. Starting with that music, man, honestly, I feel as though it's sloppy. They're going in so many different directions with this when it really didn't need that. The production, the hook, the overall song, including the concept, really annoys me here, man. And this is something that I've called Kendrick Lamar out on multiple times and such, man, on how he throws shots at the black community. Now, keep in mind, I do give Kendrick Lamar a pass on such things. Simply put, you can be critical of the black community if you do things for the black community, in which he has proven throughout his years of being famous and all that, that he's been willing to do that. Like, he's given up hundreds of thousands of dollars to after school activities and to music programs and stuff like that for kids out there in Compton. And because of that, I give him the utmost respect, but yet it's a very thin line because I really do not like these things that he's saying. But let's start with verse 1, where he's saying that they'll throw a stake off a yacht into a pool full of sharks and you'll take that. But then he flips it up saying that I would go ahead and kill somebody for nothing. What he's ultimately saying is black people are so quick to hop on the opportunities that white people throw them, even though it's a backhanded opportunity that you're not going to succeed with. You would much rather do that, but yet when it comes to black people and all that, trying to do things for the black community, you would rather kill that black individual, which that has some truth to it. But here's my thing about that. I know personally multiple people who is not like that. So if I know multiple people who's not like that, then there's a good selection of people out there who's not like that. As he continues with this verse, he begins to talk about a story somewhat of one of his homie's kids who get caught up in the game and gets killed, in which his homie comes to him like, give me some advice, man, because I know you're anointed, like you're a good person and all that. Tell me how I can avoid the violence and avoid all of this stuff right here, while he's retaliating, saying like, if it was me, there would be no peace. I would go out there and murder everybody and all of that. Saying there's no black power if my kid got killed by you cowards and such. And here's my thing about that. If you're going out to get revenge and all of that, where does race even matter? It doesn't matter if you black or white or anything. If you got done wrong, you should go after whoever it is if you desire to go ahead and get your bloodlust on. That is really just an unnecessary shot at the black community, one. And two, one thing that I have recognized is most dudes who be talking like that, they too scared to go and attack the white people who already attacked them. But then he jumps into the second verse, where on this one he's talking about the United States and the foreign policy and everything, and how black people are an ultimate mirror of everything that they do. And it's an interesting point as he's talking about things like blocked borders and all that, because as obviously as we've seen with Trump trying to get all the immigrants and everybody out and all of that nonsense, man, there are definitely places in hoods where if you are not known, you can't even drive through there trying to get somewhere, you dig? And he put that in an interesting way where he's talking about how we are painted as the ones who's committing all the gun violence and all that, while America's the one who's overnight shipping the guns everywhere. But where he misses me is where he's saying that he misses Barack Obama and he'll never doubt him and all of that stuff, man. And my thing is, fuck Barack Obama, bruh. I understand that Donald Trump is horrible. I understand he's the worst thing to happen for quite some time, dude. But you cannot deny the negative things that Barack has done for the black community. When we was out there getting slaughtered, he wouldn't say anything about it at all. He wouldn't do anything for black people. So why are you missing this person who did absolutely nothing for you? That's like saying this opioid addiction that's happening right now in America is so terrible. This is the worst thing to happen to America ever. So much so that that crack epidemic really wasn't all that bad. I'm just saying, fuck all of them. And honestly, this entire song was pretty terrible. So the next song was Fear, in which what he's talking about on this one, on every verse, is talking about how people have fear, or how people are installing fear, or how people is dealing with the fear. In the first verse, he's talking about a single mother who's running that whole Section 8 game and all of that while she's trying to raise a son. And everything she's telling her son, she's ultimately telling him that she's gonna beat his ass, and that only works but for so long. This is honestly why we need to get past that whole strong single black mother nonsense that they try to tell us and get back to the family. The second verse is him talking about a 17-year-old black male and such, in which he broke it down in a great way, saying that, okay, he's 17 and he could possibly die because this is what 17-year-olds do. And that's pretty deep. As he breaks down a lot of the nonsense that young black kids get murdered for and stuff out there, dude. Now the third verse, he's probably talking more about himself here, a 27-year-old who's being vastly successful out there. His fear is actually losing it all and starting back over in the beginning, in which he quotes Job. Ultimately in the Bible placed a bet that Job could lose everything, in which he was pretty successful. He could lose it all and he would still praise his name. He's hoping that he's not Job. Last verse is somewhat of a summary and such, because what he's doing is taking a lot of the titles that he's had for this album and including them in that verse if you didn't catch it. But yet the thing about that is he didn't include certain songs like XXX or Duckworth. Even though that was a good thought process to do that because he had to think of that before he even recorded this album, but overall, if you're not going to include all of the names, man, then it feels incomplete and really not well done. God is my second favorite song off this entire project because it's overall a solid song, from the production to the hook to the lyricism of what he's talking about here, even though it's not super complex or anything and the punchlines weren't that great, but they all fit into the context. And I overall love the feeling that that production and these lyrics come together and give you. What he's ultimately talking about on here is his success and how he's feeling so prosperous. He's thinking that, okay, this is the good life. This is exactly how God meant it to be. This must be how he feels at all times, on how prosperous and successful he's been. Putting that feel in some interesting lines, saying how he always wanted to be a gunman, so therefore he's shooting up the charts. Like, that was pretty cool because he's talking about the Billboard charts still. Now, I say that it's my second favorite track because it does drag near the end and DNA just goes so much harder, but in the end, those are the two songs that you honestly have to have off of this album. While the last song is Duckworth, and I'm not going to go into too much detail here because it's a story that he's telling, and again, I'm not giving any spoilers here. What I will say is a super coincidental type story that you definitely need to pay attention to all the way up until the end because it all matters. But if you guys remember the album that Kodak Black dropped not that long ago called Painting Pictures, this is exactly what he tried to do for that album. Like, the whole concept of that album was how he was painting pictures of everything that he's seeing from time to time to time. And my criticism of that album is that there was no details. There was absolutely nothing about it that said that he was painting a story. It was more of him drawing stick figures over and over, while this one is the perfect example of painting a picture because he's going in great detail on everything that's going on to the point that you can kind of see it as a movie. So a quick recap here, man. The positives that I take from this is I really enjoyed the lyricism. I really enjoyed the vast majority of the concepts minus Triple X. The negatives are all but two songs really just didn't come together. I feel as though the productions, the hooks, the overall songs just were not that strong here. And this is why I'm giving this project a 6 out of 10. And for all my OG subscribers, you should remember that I gave To Pimp a Butterfly a 6 out of 10. And the reason why I would give them the same number, but yet I still said specifically that this is better than To Pimp a Butterfly, is because over time, To Pimp a Butterfly got a lot worse to me. Like, to this point, it's probably closer to like a 4 out of 10. I will say go ahead and purchase those two songs that I said are really dope, and then stream the rest of it to gather your own understanding of it because Kendrick is going to get paid per streams as well. I hope you enjoyed the show. You can follow me at Twitter up there, and you can go to downloadpass.com, that's down there, to read today's article.